Welcome to another Indie Dev Showcase, highlighting the many indie games we play here on the channel. If you'd like to submit a game for a future video, please reach out. But otherwise, let's begin. We are starting things off with Rightfully Beary Arms. This is an action roguelite. The footage you're seeing is taken from early access and may not represent the current version of the game. And as another point, we did interview the developers on a podcast chat. I think this was back in 2023. In this game, we play as Beary, the bear, of course, who is exploring the galaxy trying to fight bad guys. And we're going to do this one run and one node on the map at a time. Now, with the updates the game has had since we played it, they have removed kind of navigation. Instead, it goes for more of a simple choose your next destination from these three. Each area you'll have to defeat all the enemies and find any resources and weapons that you'll be able to use in order to make your next step a little bit better. You can also find and add modifiers and make the run either easier or harder depending upon which ones you get access to. And there is persistent upgrades as well. Now, from our time spent with this one, the game has kind of a similar issue that I see from a lot of the kind of Enter the Gungeon likes that we've played, in that your starting pistol, starting weapon is just very weak, and the special weapons and all the crazy stuff you get access to are just the ammo drainers when it comes to trying to use them. And I hope that since we've played the earlier version of it, that things have been balanced a little bit more consistent in that regard. From anything else that we saw during our play, it does again fall in that kind of Enter the Gungeon style of get through the area, shoot and pew pew lots of enemies, and try and dodge all the bullets that come your way. It did appear to be on the easier side, at least from when we played this last, so if you were put off by kind of the more harder natures of Gungeon, this could be a solid game to check out. With that said, I would say if you are starved for an Enter the Gungeon like, I would give this one a check and kind of see where it goes as it continues its early access. We have another roguelike up next with Clockwork Owl. This is a kind of take on the coin pusher arcade machine, where you'll be dropping miscellaneous items, cogs, and more down to try and push more things off the table or shelf here, which will then drop down and hopefully kill the enemies that are coming to get you. So our interaction here kind of reminds me in a sense of something like Peglin, in that you're going to be getting most of your upgrades in the form of new items, which will give you more control or flexibility as to how things move. Now, the game makes use of simulated physics, so this can either come back to help you or haunt you based on your luck of how things are being flung down. As you choose different nodes, different paths, you'll fight different enemies and get varying rewards as well. The concept is certainly original, but it does, I think, kind of lack compared to a game like Peglin and some of the other roguelikes or action roguelikes we've played, where it doesn't feel like it's really set up for kind of like the same level of shenanigans. You can get into a certain build, certain combinations, etc. Since you are relying on the physics at play here, it also means that you're not really getting a lot of player interaction or player control level by level. And if you are someone who's looking for that kind of interaction, I think you're going to be disappointed with this one. But this does feel like a pretty solid, I would say like kind of casual entry for an action roguelike fan, and if you like the whole coin push arcade machine, then that should be a bonus. So this one is definitely going to be not for everyone, but if you enjoy what you're seeing, then you should at least give this one a check. We now switch over to a Super Space Club. This game could basically be described as lo-fi beats to asteroids 2. You are defending the galaxy while listening to some very nice beats, and it's up to you to survive as many waves as you can, pew-pewing and dodging around the areas. You have different objectives to clear, which can be used to unlock new characters and ships, which will give you kind of different shot effects, special abilities, etc, etc. But the main gist of this gameplay is going to be the asteroid style movement, aiming, and trying not to get destroyed by all kinds of enemies. If you're hoping for kind of like an evolution of the asteroids mechanics, you're really not going to find that here. It's more about kind of escalating and the progression that you're going to have to be dealing with. The music is great, and again, the aesthetics I think work for this one. This is probably not going to be the game for someone who's looking for like a massive experience or again, complete reinvention of the asteroids formula. But this is a very solid kind of casual or kind of like a new player's entry into this style. And again, the music definitely adds to kind of the coziness of it. So if you like asteroids and you like lo-fi beats, then you should give this one a try. We now switch over to Beecarbonize. This is a kind of education slash like, I guess like economic challenging card game or deck game. Your mission is to try and steer society to be environmentally friendly and conscious for decades at a time while trying to keep emissions down and working towards different goals. The game itself is played in a round-based format, but time kind of operates in real time. Every time a bar fills, you will get resources and some other things happening. With the different resources, you'll be able to purchase or upgrade new cards. Each time you add emissions, it will kind of fill up like the doom counter at the top of the screen. When it hits certain thresholds, something bad is going to happen, which will in turn you will have to adjust and adapt to accordingly. Now the game kind of features so much of a free form style, in that whatever upgrades you get and whatever cards you put down will affect subsequent card draws and events that can happen. So if you choose more flooding as an event, then you'll get more cards that will involve protecting against said floods. And you have a kind of grand goal you're trying to achieve, or multiple goals. And you'll need to decide as you play which ones you want to aim for in terms of how the cards you're getting, what events you're getting, etc. The base game felt a little bit on the easy side. This is a game of optimization. So if you understand what your goal is trying to achieve and can do your damnedest to keep those emissions down, you can kind of game things to some extent. Since we played it, they have added in a more challenging mode which we did not get a chance to play. I found this one to be charming, and since it is currently free to play, I would say if you're looking for some environmentally friendly deck-based games, then give this one a play. We now switch over to a City of Murals. And as the store page describes it, this is a 3D platformer inside a 3D Metroidvania inside a roguelite, featuring some very interesting and unique visual style and aesthetics. In a universe where everyone is fighting to stay immortal or keep their lives going, they're going out looking for relics, treasures, and more to try and extend their life. And to do that, they're going to be exploring a lot of strange places, getting into a lot of strange combat along the way. Our gameplay here is focusing more on kind of like the 3D platforming side, as you'll run, jump, and do a lot of kind of simulated physics style movement around the place. You're looking to complete various objectives and get resources you need to get permanent upgrades, as well as extend your character's ETA or kind of death timer as well. Now, the footage that you are seeing is taken from early access and may not represent the current version of the game. My main issue with this one is that it is, at the moment when we played it, very rough. It felt very awkward in terms of general movement and trying to figure out what it is you're really doing in this game. There's a lot of open space to explore and just a lot of just things going around. It reminds me a little bit of a game we played a very long time ago, whose name unfortunately escapes me, which was a very like open universe style exploration game, but longtime fans will probably remember what it is. And it also had that kind of like go anywhere, very wide open jank to it, but it was still intriguing to play, and I think that's where I have City of Murals at. This is one of those games where if what you're seeing looks interesting to you, I would at least give the game a try and see if it works for you, because it is one of those titles where you'll either really get into it or you're really not. And the only way you're going to know is if you have to actually play it. So very interesting concept, and one that I will try again when the game is out of early access. And for the last game of this week's showcase, we go to Desynced. Now, the footage you're seeing is also in early access and may not represent the current version of it. This is a logistics automation game, where kind of our unique selling point here is a modular approach to buildings and your units. How this works, instead of having fixed buildings, this is your refinery, this is your unit producer, this is your tower, etc., you construct different modules. Modules come in different sizes and can be attached to units and buildings, which will then define their capabilities. If you want a building to do production, you need to put a kind of refiner or constructor module in said building. If you want a combat droid, put a shield on it, give it a laser, send it out. If you want a repair droid, an automation helper, whatever, there is a module that you attach to it. And the game also goes much like a lot of the other more advanced logistics games, that you can set up kind of conditionals and some pseudo programming to fully automate everything in your base. Progression is going to be once again tied to getting new researches and tech unlocks, which will let you construct new things, which will let you collect more resources to let you construct even more things, and again, you should get the picture by now. Now, this game does feature combat, as you need to make sure that your combat droids have power and the weaponry available to deal with the mysterious forces that are going to be trying to mess with your automation. I like the concept of this one. It does feel a little bit harder to get into compared to some of the more, I would say, I guess like easier to grasp concepts such as in Dyson Sphere or the opening of Factorio. But once you kind of get into it, it does make sense in that approach. It can be on the slower side as well, as you're going to be dealing with kind of the lack of being able to have your bots and set up some of the basic stuff at the start. And I didn't play this one long enough to see kind of what the mid to late game challenges of it will be. I assume there'll be more combat involved, and the tech tree showed a lot in terms of advanced materials and resources to gather. So if you are looking for another challenging and different take on the logistics automation style genre, I would recommend you give this one a play and see if it will work for you. And with that, we're going to wrap up this week's showcase here. You'll find links to all the games down below. Let me know what you think of them as well in the comments. And again, if you want me to take a look at your game for a future stream and showcase, please reach out. With that said, thanks again for watching, and see everyone in the next video. Thanks for watching, and a special thank you to our Patreon supporters. If you enjoyed the video, do the YouTubing stuff, be sure to visit our Discord and Patreon, and if you're interested in more of my thoughts on design, check out my game design books.